DevilNeverCry.
What is up everybody, it is me DevilNeverCry and we are back with another video on Resident Evil 4 Remake, going over a few of the rumors that have recently surfaced. We won't be going over any old rumor in this video. Specifically, we're going to be covering the rumors put forth by the Fanbyte website, who have stated that they believe their sources for this information are both trustworthy and accurate, though they can get no official sanction from Capcom because, let's be honest, the remake hasn't even been announced yet. Fanbyte sources state that the game has been in development for quite some time and that it is set to be revealed this year. The sources also touch upon M2 Studio, the studio behind Resident Evil 3 Remake that is comprised of former Capcom and former Platinum Games developers. The article goes on to state that Capcom had apparently greenlit the Resident Evil 4 Remake project in the hopes that they could entice Shinji Mikami, the original director and writer of RE4, to return to work on the game. And whilst Shinji Mikami was reportedly intrigued by the offer and the prospect to work on RE4 again, he felt that Tango Gameworks, the studio he's currently the head of, and the masterminds behind Evil Within and Ghostwire Tokyo, would essentially fall apart without him, and that is the reason why he declined. At the same time, Resident Evil 3 Remake, headed up by M2 Studios, began to receive a bit of a mixed response and mixed reviews. It certainly didn't reach the heights that Resident Evil 2 Remake did. This mixed response to RE3 Remake reportedly led Capcom to shift the RE4 Remake project away from M2 Studios so they could handle it internally, allowing them to put RE2 Remake's project's lead on it instead. This meant that M2 shifted from a primary studio for the game to more of a support studio for the title. Now, this whole dev switcheroo with M2 and Capcom is something that we've heard before in previous rumors, so it's interesting to see more sources somewhat confirm this, and I use confirm lightly there because, remember, all of this is unverified. Having said that, let's take a look at some of the purported changes that Capcom are going to be making to Resident Evil 4 Remake, or at least what these sources are saying will change. And reading your comments on my previous Resident Evil 4 Remake video, a lot of you don't like seeing the word change and Resident Evil 4 in the same sentence. So one of the first changes that they're going to be making to RE4 Remake is the time of day. In the original title, we saw Leon S. Kennedy arrive in that European village in the middle of the day, albeit it was quite overcast and very foggy as he gunned his way down through the entire village, and it spanned the entirety of 24 hours. However, the remake is said to have adjusted that timeline. In RE4 Remake, the sources purport that the famous village introduction set piece takes place during the night, as does a decent portion of the rest of the game. And this is a change I'm actually in two minds about because, first of all, it's an iconic set piece as the article here states. Leon arrives in this village, his escorts and the car meet an untimely end, there's no turning back, Leon has to press forward, and so things kick off. At the same time, I can only imagine how much more daunting and scary that section is going to be if it happens in the middle of the night with the RE engine. You saw just how dark the Resident Evil remakes could get in RE2, going through some of those hallways in pitch black with nothing but a flashlight to make your way around. Just imagine that village, drenched in black, veiled in darkness, hearing the ever so looming sound of a chainsaw making its way towards you. This is a change that serves to make the game more horror-oriented in my opinion, but again, that is just me. Let me know what you think about this change down in the comments below. Reading on in the article, it states that there is an actual reason for this change and it isn't just arbitrary. Capcom wants to adjust the tone of the remake into something spookier, taking direct inspiration from the discarded Resident Evil 4 demos. I'm sure many Resident Evil fans who know about some of the history of RE4 know exactly what they're talking about here, where it states, the footage, which was used in early GameCube preview reels, featured Leon wandering around a lonely abandoned castle, getting possessed by black smoke and fighting off living dolls, as well as other ghostly manifestations, such as the Hookman, everybody's favorite apparition. Some of this stuff made its way into the original game in other ways, most of it, however, was left on the cutting room floor, and direct comparisons are being made during the development of the remake. Personally, I think this is an interesting approach to take, looking at what they couldn't add into the original and somehow readapting it for the remake. This would allow for things that people have been asking for ages to finally make their way to RE4. At the same time though, it does bring about a few concerns in regards to pacing. Are they going to make the game even longer, or are they going to cut certain portions out? Regardless of the way they go about it, I think that some people are going to be happy and others aren't going to be too best pleased. Another aspect of the article I quickly want to touch upon is the side content and how Capcom apparently plans to flesh it out for the remake. One of the focuses is said to be Assignment Ada, which I believe was GameCube specific. It was a brief campaign where you were able to go around play as Ada collecting Las Plagas samples for Albert Wesker. PS2 didn't have this. PS2 actually had Separate Ways, I believe, which was more involved in the plot and actually gave you a sense of what Ada was doing whilst you were playing as Leon. The article goes on to state that Capcom is not going to be making two separate side pieces of content specifically centered around Ada, which, try saying that 5 times in a row, but they are actually looking to combine both Assignment Ada and Separate Ways into one package, said to be a more fluid and polished companion piece to the main campaign overall. However, Fanbyte states that not every source they talk to could corroborate and confirm whether this was going to be a part of the game or planned as DLC. One thing Fanbyte are confident in though are changes to the story, such as giving some of the side characters, like Luisetta for example, bigger roles and more screen time overall. One thing that this article doesn't mention is Mercenaries mode, and I'm hoping that it will be in some form or the other, hopefully as untouched as possible, or perhaps even expanded even. At this point, Resident Evil and Mercenaries mode are synonymous, and so a lot of people were disappointed when it wasn't included in Resident Evil 3 Remake. And in fact, RE4 was the game that kind of boosted Mercenaries to the heights that it is now, in my opinion, especially considering it came back for RE5 and for RE6. And the article continues on and on with a few other tidbits of information, but I think for the sake of brevity and not wanting to read this article out word for word, we're going to leave it there. I will though leave a link in the description to the article if you want to read it in its entirety in your own time. Let me know down in the comments below what you think. Are you interested? Are you happy, excited? Are you disappointed? I know a lot of people are wanting Capcom to keep things as original as possible, but it seems like Capcom are set in their ways in making a few changes. If you enjoyed today's video, do be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing, as it all helps the channel out. With all that said and done, it has been me, DevilNeverCry. I'd like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you all next video.